You want a show? Then listen to the truth.
The Chateau Margaux hit my face at exactly 9:47 p.m. in front of 37 witnesses, including my 17-year-old daughter, Emma. The $300 bottle of wine dripped down my chin like liquid humiliation, staining my only decent shirt burgundy. My wife, Sarah, stood there, manicured fingers still gripping the crystal glass, her perfectly veneered smile gleaming under the law firm's chandelier. "That's what I think of your pathetic little security business, David," she announced to the room. Her colleagues at Morrison, Blake & Associates erupted in polite laughter, the kind that cuts deeper than honest cruelty. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, tasting expensive wine and cheaper betrayal. "Well, honey, at least the Sauvignon Blanc pairs well with public humiliation. Though I think you meant to serve it in a glass, not wear it as a cologne." The laughter died. Sarah's face flushed red beneath her foundation. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, soaked in wine you bought with money from my business account? I'd say we're both pretty ridiculously embarrassing right now." Emma covered her face with her hands. Richard Blackwood, Sarah's senior partner, and the man I'd caught her texting at midnight 3 weeks ago, stepped forward with that condescending smile I had grown to hate. "David, maybe I should what, Dick? Leave? Great idea." I looked around the room, meeting every judgmental stare. "Enjoy the party, folks. Don't let my absence stop you from celebrating whatever the heck this is supposed to be." I walked toward the elevator, wine still dripping from my collar. Behind me, Sarah's voice rose to that pitch that meant she was losing control. "Don't you dare walk away from me, David Miller." I turned back, 37 pairs of eyes watching like spectators at a car crash. "Watch me." The elevator doors closed on her furious face, and for the first time in months, I smiled. I spent the night at Big Mike's boxing gym, sleeping on the couch in his office that smelled like leather and old sweat. Mike found me there at 6 a.m., still wearing my wine-stained shirt. "Jesus, Dave, you look like crap warmed over." "Feel worse." I sat up, my back screaming from the lumpy couch. "She threw wine at me, Mike, in front of everyone." Mike handed me a cup of coffee that could strip paint. "What did you do?" "Nothing, that's the problem. 20 years of marriage and I've done nothing but take her crap with a smile." I sipped the coffee and winced. "Well, that changes today." "What are you thinking?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the divorce papers I'd had drawn up 3 months ago. "Time to serve these. But first, I'm going home to pack." Mike raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this?" Never been more sure of anything in my life. The drive home took 15 minutes through streets I'd traveled for 2 decades. Our house sat on Elm Street, a modest 2-story colonial that Sarah constantly complained wasn't good enough for her image. I parked in the driveway and sat for a moment, gathering courage. Sarah's BMW wasn't there. Good. Inside, everything looked exactly the same. Cream wall, expensive furniture Sarah had insisted on. Family photos that now felt like evidence of a crime. I went upstairs to our bedroom and opened her vanity drawer. 27 bottles of skincare products lined up like soldiers. La Mer, Esquetou, Crème de la Mer, hundreds of dollars worth of creams and serums. I unscrewed each cap methodically and replaced the contents with mayonnaise, carefully matching the consistency and color with food coloring. Next, I drafted a letter on my laptop. Sarah enclosed our divorce papers and a final report on our marriage. After careful analysis, I've determined that our relationship has a 0% success rate and a 100% chance of continued misery if we stay together. Your performance as a wife has been consistently below expectations. Your affair with Richard is noted but unsurprising, given your track record of poor decision-making. I'll be staying at Mike's gym until we sort out living arrangements. Don't contact me unless it's through lawyers. Regards, David P.S. I replaced your face creams with Hellmann's. The expiration date is probably better than our marriage. I left everything on her pillow, grabbed my clothes, and headed for the door. My phone rang as I loaded my car. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. "David? Where the heck are you?" "Moving out. Check your pillow." "What did you—" I heard her footsteps on the stairs, then silence, then screaming. "You psychotic bastard! Do you know how much those creams cost?" "About the same as the wine you threw at me. Consider us even. I'm going to destroy you. I'll take everything, the house, the business. Emma, good luck with that, sweetheart. Oh, and Sarah, next time you want to humiliate someone in public, make sure you're not standing on a glass pedestal. I hung up and drove away, leaving 20 years of marriage in my rearview mirror. 2 days later, Sarah found me at Murphy's Cafe on Main Street. I was reading the local paper and drinking coffee when she stormed through the door like an avenging angel in a $1,000 suit. The cafe went quiet. Murphy's was where half the town ate breakfast, which meant Sarah had an audience for whatever drama she was about to unleash. David Miller, you son of a witch! I looked up from my paper. Morning, Sarah. Coffee's fresh if you want some, though I'd recommend keeping it in the cup this time. She slammed her purse on my table. You think you're funny? You think this is some kind of joke? I think it's the most honest conversation we've had in years. I folded my paper carefully. What can I do for you? You can drop this ridiculous divorce nonsense and come home. We can work this out. Around us, conversations had stopped. Mrs. Henderson from the post office leaned forward in her booth. Tom Brady, not the quarterback, just our local mechanic with an unfortunate name, pretended to read his menu while obviously listening. Work what out exactly? Your affair with Richard? Your constant criticism? The fact that you've spent the last 5 years treating me like an embarrassing relative you can't quite disown? Sarah's voice dropped to a hiss. Keep your voice down. Why? Worried about what people might think? Little late for that, don't you think? I stood up, pulling out my wallet. Tell you what, Sarah, since you like public scenes so much, let's have one. I raised my voice just enough to carry. Folks, I'd like you all to meet my soon-to-be ex-wife, Sarah. She's a lawyer at Morrison, Blake & Associates, drives a BMW she can't afford, and she's been screwing her boss for the past 6 months. The cafe erupted in whispers. Sarah's face went white, then red, then white again. You bastard, she whispered. That's what you get when you corner a bastard in public, honey. I left a $5 bill on the table. Enjoy your breakfast. I hear the crow is particularly fresh today. I walked out, leaving Sarah standing there like a statue, 30 pairs of eyes boring into her back. Through the window, I watched her grab her purse and flee to her car. My phone buzzed with a text from Mike. Heard about the cafe. You're either brave or stupid. I texted back, little of both, but it felt good. Sarah's revenge came swift and surgical. By the end of the week, what do you mean? 3 of my biggest clients had canceled their contracts. Miller Security Solutions, the company I'd built from nothing over 15 years, was hemorrhaging money. I sat in my office, a converted garage behind Mike's gym, staring at cancellation emails. Dataflow Industries, Westfield Medical, and Carson Manufacturing had all cited concerns about reliability in their termination letters. My phone rang. Jenny Walsh, my part-time secretary and the closest thing I had to an employee, sounded panicked. Dave, I just got off the phone with Westfield Medical. They said Sarah called them personally, told them you were going through a difficult personal situation that might affect your work quality. She what? There's more. I heard from my cousin who works at the courthouse. Sarah's been telling people you're having a breakdown. She's painting herself as the long-suffering wife trying to help her mentally unstable husband. I closed my eyes. Sarah was playing chess while I'd been playing checkers. Jenny, cancel my appointments for today. I need to think. I drove to the lake, to the spot where Sarah and I used to bring Emma when she was little. The water was gray under autumn clouds, matching my mood. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Dad, are you okay? Mom says you're sick. I called her immediately. Em, where are you? At Mom's. She's been crying all morning saying you're having some kind of breakdown. Emma, listen to me carefully. I'm not having a breakdown. Your mother and I are getting divorced because she's been cheating on me with her boss. She threw wine in my face at a party, and now she's trying to destroy my business. Silence, then. Is that true? Every word. I'm sorry you have to hear this, but I won't let her rewrite history. She said you were delusional, that you were making up stories about her and Mr. Blackwood. Richard Blackwood has been texting your mother at all hours for months. I have phone records if you want to see them. Another long pause. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe this, I love you and I'm not going anywhere. But I'm also not going to let your mother destroy me without a fight. After I hung up, I sat by the lake for an hour, watching the water and planning my next move. Sarah wanted to play dirty? Fine. I'd been playing nice for 20 years, and where had it gotten me? Time to change the rules. I spent the weekend doing what I did best, investigating. Sarah might be a lawyer, but I was a security expert with 20 years of experience finding things people wanted to hide. Richard Blackwood lived in Riverside Heights, the expensive part of town where lawyers and doctors pretended they weren't drowning in debt. His house was a colonial mansion with a circular driveway and a 3-car garage. I parked across the street Sunday morning and waited. At 11:30, Richard emerged in tennis whites, climbed into his Mercedes, and drove toward the country club. I followed at a distance, my beat-up Honda invisible among the luxury cars. But instead of going to the club, Richard turned into the parking lot of the Riverside Casino. Interesting. I waited 2 hours before he came out, and his body language told me everything I needed to know. Slumped shoulders, slow walk, the universal posture of a man who'd just lost money he couldn't afford to lose. Over the next 3 days, I built a profile. Richard Blackwood, senior partner, pillar of the community, was a gambling habitual. He hit the casino every Tuesday and Thursday after work, played poker at an underground game in the warehouse district on Saturdays, and had been borrowing against his house for the past year. But the real gold mine came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Peabody, my 70-year-old neighbor who knew everyone's business. I was checking my mailbox when she waddled over, her ancient chihuahua trembling in her arms. "David, dear, I'm so sorry about your troubles with Sarah." "Thanks, Mrs. Peabody. You know, I saw the strangest thing last week. That fancy man in the Mercedes was parked outside your house Tuesday night. Sarah came out in her robe and got in his car. They drove off together and didn't come back until almost midnight." My blood ran cold. "What night was this?" "Tuesday. The same night you were at Mike's gym for that boxing thing. I remember because I was watching my stories and they interrupted with a weather report. Tuesday night. The night I'd told Sarah I was working late at the gym, training for the charity match. The night she'd texted me at 11 saying she was going to bed early with a headache. Mrs. Peabody, would you be willing to write down what you saw? Just in case I need it for the divorce?" Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "Oh, absolutely, dear. I've been keeping a little journal of neighborhood activities. Very detailed. Would that help?" I could have kissed her wrinkled cheek. That would help tremendously. Armed with information, I planned my counterattack. Sarah had used social pressure and professional connections to hurt me. I'd return the favor, but with surgical precision. First stop, the Riverside Country Club, where Sarah played tennis every Thursday with her circle of lawyer wives and doctor spouses. I knew the routine because I'd been dragged to enough club events over the years. I waited in the parking lot until I saw the familiar group heading to their cars after their game. Sarah was laughing with Patricia Morrison, the senior partner's wife, and Janet Blackwood, Richard's wife, who had no idea her husband was screwing my wife. I intercepted them near the valet stand. "Ladies, what a pleasant surprise." Sarah's face went pale. "David, what are you doing here?" "Just thought I'd stop by and say hello to some old friends." I smiled at Janet Blackwood. "Janet, how's Richard doing? I heard he's been working a lot of late nights lately." Janet beamed. "Oh, you know how it is. The law never sleeps." "No, it doesn't. Sarah's been working late too. Tuesday nights especially. She comes home exhausted, don't you, honey?" Sarah's eyes were shooting daggers. "David, in fact," I continued, "I was just telling Mrs. Peabody how dedicated you both are. Richard picking you up for those late-night strategy sessions, working until all hours. Such commitment to the firm." The color drained from Janet's face. Patricia Morrison frowned. The other women exchanged glances. Strategy sessions? Janet's voice was carefully neutral. "Oh yes, every Tuesday, like clockwork. Richard's Mercedes in our driveway, both of them heading off to burn the midnight oil. Though I have to say, Richard looked pretty tired when I saw him at the casino yesterday. All that work must be exhausting." The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Janet Blackwood's face had gone from pale to gray. "Casino?" she whispered. "Riverside Casino. He was there for hours. I was meeting a client in the area and saw his car, probably unwinding after all those long nights at the office." Sarah grabbed my arm. "David, we need to talk. Privately." "Sorry, honey, but I'm late for a meeting." "Ladies, always a pleasure." I tipped an imaginary hat. "Janet, give Richard my regards. Tell him I said good luck with his ventures." I walked away, leaving a bomb with a very short fuse ticking behind me. The explosion came faster than I expected. By Friday morning, the entire legal community was buzzing with gossip. Richard Blackwood had been confronted by his wife, who'd hired a private investigator and discovered not only the affair, but also the extent of his gambling debts. Jenny called me at 8 a.m., barely able to contain her excitement. "Dave, you're not going to believe this. Richard Blackwood got fired yesterday. The partners called an emergency meeting and voted him out. Something about conduct unbecoming and financial irregularities. Is that so?" And Sarah's been passed over for the promotion she was expecting. Patricia Morrison told my cousin at the hair salon that Sarah's personal complications make her unsuitable for advancement. I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. Anything else? Oh, this is the best part. Janet Blackwood filed for divorce, and she's demanding half of everything. Turns out Richard's been hiding assets and debts. He's going to be broke. After I hung up, I sat back in my chair and smiled. Phase 1 was complete, but I was just getting started. My phone rang. Sarah's name on the display. "You bastard," she hissed without preamble. "You destroyed Richard's career." I didn't destroy anything. I just shared some observations with concerned friends. How's the promotion going, by the way? You know exactly how it's going. I know you're finally experiencing consequences for your actions. Novel concept, isn't it? This isn't over, David. No, it's not. We're just getting to the good part. I hung up and called Mike. Feel like helping me with a little project tonight? What kind of project? The kind that involves teaching some people about respect. Mike chuckled. I'll bring the beer. Sarah's best friend Diana ran an upscale spa called Serenity Now in the trendy part of downtown. It was where Sarah and her circle went for their weekly gossip sessions disguised as self-care. Diana had always treated me like something she'd scraped off her shoe. At parties, she'd make snide comments about my blue-collar sensibilities and how Sarah deserved better. She was also the one feeding Sarah advice about the divorce, encouraging her to take him for everything he's worth. Thursday was Sarah's standing appointment for a facial and massage. I knew because she'd been going every Thursday for 3 years, and because Diana had made a point of mentioning how therapeutic it was for Sarah to have a safe space to process her feelings about her failing marriage. I arrived at Serenity Now an hour before opening time. The back door was secured with a basic deadbolt that took me 30 seconds to pick, a skill I'd learned during my early days in security work. Inside, the spa smelled like lavender and eucalyptus. I made my way to the treatment room, where I knew Sarah would be getting her facial. The mud mask mixture sat in a ceramic bowl ready for the day's first client. I added a generous amount of itching powder to the mix, stirring carefully to ensure even distribution. Then I did the same to the massage oils and the cucumber eye treatment. Next, I visited Diana's office and left a little surprise in her desk drawer, printouts of her tax records which my accountant friend had helped me analyze. Diana had been skimming money from the business and hiding income from the IRS. Not illegal for me to know, but definitely illegal for her to do. I was gone before the first employee arrived. At 2 p.m., my phone started ringing. First Jenny, then Mike, then 3 different clients who'd heard the news. Sarah had suffered an allergic reaction during her facial. She'd been rushed to the emergency room, with her face swollen like a balloon covered in angry red welts. The other women in her group had experienced similar reactions to various treatments. Diana was facing a lawsuit, a health department investigation, and some very uncomfortable questions from the IRS. I felt a brief moment of guilt, then remembered the wine dripping down my face in front of 37 witnesses. The guilt passed. Emma found me at the gym Friday evening, her face flushed with anger and something else, disappointment that cut deeper than any insult. Dad, we need to talk. I looked up from the heavy bag I'd been pounding for the past hour. What's on your mind, kiddo? She held up her phone, showing me a TikTok video. The title read, "When Your Dad is Literally the Worst Person Alive." My stomach dropped as I watched my 17-year-old daughter explain to her 50,000 followers how her psychotic father had lost his mind and was terrorizing innocent people because he couldn't handle being a loser. The video had 200,000 views and was climbing. Emma, don't, just don't. Her voice was cold, older than her years. Mom told me everything about your breakdown, about how you've been stalking her and Mr. Blackwood, about how you sabotaged the spa. Your mother is lying. Is she? Because The evidence says otherwise. You replaced her face cream with mayonnaise. You humiliated her in public. You got Mr. Blackwood fired from his job. Richard Blackwood got himself fired by gambling away his clients' money and sleeping with married women. Emma's laugh was bitter. Right. And I suppose you had nothing to do with exposing that? I set down my gloves and faced my daughter. Em, your mother threw wine in my face in front of half the legal community. She's been having an affair for months. She tried to destroy my business out of spite. What exactly did you expect me to do? Be the bigger person. Act like an adult instead of some psycho ex-husband. I tried being the bigger person for 20 years. It got me a face full of wine and a cheating wife. Emma shook her head. I'm moving in with Mom permanently. I can't be around this version of you. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Mr. Blackwood offered me an internship at his new firm. I'm taking it. Emma, Richard doesn't have a new firm. He's broke and unemployed. Shows how much you know. He's starting fresh, and he believes in me, unlike some people. After she left, I sat on the gym floor for a long time, staring at my hands. Mike found me there an hour later. Rough day? My daughter hates me. My wife's turned her against me completely. Mike sat down beside me. Kids see things different when they're hurting. She'll come around. Will she? Because right now it feels like I'm losing everything that matters while winning a war I never wanted to fight. So what's your next move? I looked up at him. I'm going to finish this. But first I need to know exactly what Richard's been telling my daughter. Following Emma led me to discoveries I wasn't prepared for. She met Richard Blackwood at a coffee shop downtown, and I watched from my car as they sat together for 2 hours, his hand occasionally touching her arm, his smile too warm, too intimate. My blood turned to ice. I called my friend Tony, a private investigator who owed me a favor for my security work. I need surveillance on Richard Blackwood, full background, financial records, and I need to know every person he's been in contact with in the past month. This about your divorce? This is about my daughter's safety. Tony's report arrived 3 days later, and it was worse than I'd imagined. Richard wasn't starting a new law firm. He was completely broke, facing criminal charges for embezzlement, and had a history of mentoring young women that went back 15 years. The internship was a lie. Richard was grooming my daughter, using her anger at me and her mother's encouragement to get close to her. I called Sarah immediately. We need to talk. Right now. David, Richard Blackwood is a predator and he's targeting our daughter. Meet me at Murphy's Cafe in 20 minutes, or I'm calling the police and showing them what I know. She was there in 15 minutes, her face pale and drawn. What are you talking about? I slid the folder across the table. Richard's been fired from 3 previous firms for inappropriate relationships with young female employees. He's facing embezzlement charges. He's broke, desperate, and he's been grooming Emma. Sarah opened the folder, her face growing paler with each page. This can't be right. It's all documented. Police reports, civil settlements, financial records. Your boyfriend is a predator, Sarah, and you've been serving our daughter to him on a silver platter. She looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw the woman I'd married 20 years ago. Scared, vulnerable, human. Oh God, what have I done? You've been so focused on hurting me that you stopped protecting our daughter. The question is, what are we going to do about it? For the first time since the wine incident, Sarah and I were on the same side. We sat in my car outside Emma's school, waiting for her to come out, planning how to protect our daughter from the man Sarah had been defending for months. I feel sick, Sarah said, clutching the folder of evidence. I've been encouraging her to spend time with him. I thought he was being kind, helping her through the divorce. He was using your anger against me to get access to her. Classic predator behavior. Emma emerged from the school building, laughing with friends. She looked so young, so innocent. The thought of Richard's hands on her made my vision go red. There she is, Sarah whispered. We intercepted Emma at her car. She rolled her eyes when she saw us together. Great, are you two ganging up on me now? Emma, get in the car, I said. We need to talk. I'm not going anywhere with... Richard Blackwood is not who you think he is, Sarah interrupted. Your father has proof. Something in Sarah's voice must have gotten through to Emma because she stopped arguing and got in the back seat. I handed her the folder. Read it, all of it. As Emma read, her face went through a range of emotions: confusion, disbelief, disgust, and finally, fear. He's been texting me, she whispered, asking about my plans, where I go, what I like to do. He said he wanted to get to know me better before the internship started. Sarah and I exchanged looks. What else? I asked gently. He asked if I had a boyfriend. Said I was mature for my age. He wanted to take me to dinner this weekend to discuss my future. Emma's voice got smaller. I thought he was just being nice. Baby, he wasn't being nice, Sarah said, reaching back to touch Emma's hand. He was grooming you. Emma looked up at me. Dad, I'm sorry. I made that video. I said those things. I didn't know. It's okay, kiddo. You were manipulated by an expert, but now we need to stop him. What do we do? Sarah asked. I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. We give Richard exactly what he deserves. The plan was simple but effective. Emma would agree to the dinner date with Richard, but she'd be wearing a wire, and Sarah and I would be watching from the next table. We chose Romano's, an upscale restaurant where Richard would feel comfortable, showing his true colors. I arrived first, taking a corner booth with a clear view of the entrance. Sarah came in 10 minutes later, sitting at the bar. Emma arrived at 7 p.m. sharp, looking nervous but determined. She'd grown up a lot in the past week, seeing the adults in her life for who they really were. Richard showed up 15 minutes late, his usual power play. He was dressed expensively, probably his last good suit before the bankruptcy hit. He kissed Emma's cheek, his hand lingering on her shoulder longer than appropriate. Through the wire Emma wore, I could hear every word. You look beautiful tonight, Emma. Very mature. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. Please, call me Richard. We're going to be working closely together. As dinner progressed, Richard became more aggressive. His hand moved to Emma's thigh. He ordered wine despite knowing she was underage. He talked about the special relationship they'd have, how he could teach her things about the law and about life. Emma played her part perfectly, acting interested but naive. Richard grew bolder, suggesting they go back to his apartment to discuss the internship in private. That's when I stood up. I don't think so, Richard. He spun around, his face going white when he saw me approaching. Sarah appeared at his other side. Hello, Richard, she said coldly. Enjoying your dinner? David, Sarah, what a surprise. His voice was strained. Emma and I we heard exactly what you were doing. I sat down across from him. Emma, go wait in the car. She left quickly, relief evident on her face. Richard looked like a trapped animal. I don't know what you think you heard, but Sarah placed a recording device on the table. We heard you propositioning our 17-year-old daughter. We heard you offering her alcohol. We heard you describing the special relationship you wanted to have with her. That's not... You're taking it out of context. I leaned forward. Richard, you're broke. You're facing criminal charges. Your wife divorced you and took everything. You have nothing left to lose, which makes you dangerous. I never touched her. No, but you were going to, tonight, at your apartment. I pulled out my phone. I could call the police right now. Attempted statutory assault, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, solicitation. Richard's face was shiny with sweat. What do you want? Sarah and I exchanged glances. This was the moment we'd planned for. We want you gone, Sarah said. Out of town, out of our lives, away from our daughter. You have 24 hours to leave, I added. If you're still here tomorrow night, this recording goes to the police, the State Bar Association, and every news outlet in the state. Richard looked back and forth between us, seeing his future crumble in real time. You can't do this. Watch us, Amish, I said. Richard left town that night, driving out in his Mercedes with whatever he could pack in an hour. I know because I followed him to the city limits, making sure he understood the terms of our agreement. But my real target was never Richard. He was just a symptom of the disease that had infected my marriage. The real problem was the network of people who'd enabled Sarah's behavior, encouraged her cruelty, and helped her try to destroy me. Diana, the spa owner, was first. The IRS investigation I'd triggered had revealed years of tax evasion. She lost her business license and faced federal charges. The spa closed permanently. Patricia Morrison, the senior partner's wife who'd laughed when Sarah threw wine at me, discovered that her husband had been embezzling from the firm to fund her shopping habits. The partnership dissolved in a storm of lawsuits. Janet Blackwood, who'd always looked down on me at social gatherings, found herself broken alone when Richard's debts became public. She had to sell the mansion and move in with her sister. One by one, the people who'd treated me like dirt, who'd laughed at my humiliation, who'd encouraged Sarah's worst impulses, faced consequences for their actions. But Sarah herself remained untouched. protected by her victim narrative and her ability to manipulate sympathy from strangers. That was about to change. The Riverside Winter Festival was the social event of the year, where the town's elite gathered to see and be seen. Sarah would be there, playing the role of the wronged wife, garnering sympathy and support from people who didn't know the whole story. I had a different plan for the evening. I arrived at the festival early, while volunteers were still setting up. The main stage sat in the center of the town square, equipped with a sound system that could reach every corner of the crowd. At 8 p.m., Mayor Davidson took the microphone to welcome everyone. The square was packed, probably 1,000 people, including everyone who mattered in our small town. I waited until the mayor finished his opening remarks, then I walked onto the stage. "Excuse me, Mayor Davidson, mind if I say a few words?" The crowd murmured. Sarah, standing near the front with Emma, went pale. "I'm David Miller, and I have a story to tell you all." I took the microphone before anyone could stop me. 3 months ago, my wife threw a glass of wine in my face at a public event. She did it because I'd discovered her affair with her boss, Richard Blackwood. She did it because I'd finally stood up to 20 years of emotional misuse and manipulation. The crowd was dead silent. Sarah tried to push through the people toward the stage, but the crowd was too thick. Since then, she's tried to destroy my business by lying to my clients. She's turned my daughter against me with false stories about my mental health. She's encouraged a dangerous manipulator to groom our 17-year-old daughter. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emma was staring at me, her face unreadable. "But here's what you don't know about Sarah Miller. She's been stealing from her clients' trust accounts to fund her lifestyle. She's been falsifying billing records. She's been blackmailing opposing counsel with information obtained illegally." I pulled out a folder thick with documents. I have bank records, email printouts, recorded phone calls. Sarah Miller isn't the victim she's pretended to be. She's a criminal. The crowd erupted. Sarah was screaming something I couldn't hear over the noise. Security guards were moving toward the stage. "I'm turning all of this evidence over to the State Bar Association and the District Attorney's Office tomorrow morning. Sarah Miller will never practice law again." The security guards reached me as I dropped the microphone, but I'd said what I came to say. The fallout was swift and complete. Within a week, Sarah was under criminal investigation for embezzlement, fraud, and ethics violations. The state bar suspended her license pending the outcome of the charges. Emma moved back in with me, finally understanding the full scope of what had happened. She deleted the TikTok video and posted an apology, explaining how she'd been manipulated. "Dad, I'm sorry," she said one evening as we sat in our new apartment. "I should have listened to you. You were protecting your mother. That's not something to apologize for. But I hurt you. I said terrible things. You were 17 and caught in the middle of an ugly divorce. You did the best you could with the information you had." Sarah pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud charges 6 months later. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution to her victims. I never saw her again. My business recovered and grew stronger than ever. Word got around about how I'd exposed the corruption in the legal community, and clients started seeking me out specifically because of my reputation for thorough investigation. Mike offered to let me stay at the gym permanently, but I found a small house on the other side of town. Emma and I painted it together, choosing bright colors that Sarah would have hated. 2 years later, I was sitting in my office when Jenny brought me the newspaper. The headline read, "Former local attorney released from prison." Sarah had served her full sentence and was being released on parole. She'd lost her law license permanently, her house, her car, and most of her friends. I felt nothing reading the article. No satisfaction, no anger, no regret. Just emptiness where 20 years of marriage used to be. Emma was in college now, studying journalism. She'd found her voice again after the trauma of the divorce, and she was using it to expose corruption and hold powerful people accountable. Like father, like daughter, Mike had joked when she got accepted to Northwestern. I closed the newspaper and went back to work. I had a new case, a cheating spouse investigation that would probably end another marriage. The cycle continued, but I was no longer part of it. That evening, I picked up Emma from the train station. She was home for winter break, full of stories about college and her classes and the boy she was dating. "Dad, are you happy?" she asked as we drove through town. I thought about it. Was I happy? I was successful, respected, and free from the toxic relationship that had poisoned half my life. My daughter and I had rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Yeah, kiddo, I think I am. Good, you deserve it. As we passed the town square where the winter festival had been held 2 years ago, Emma pointed to the stage. That was pretty epic what you did up there. Epic's one word for it. What would you call it? I smiled. Justice? We drove home through streets I'd traveled for 22 years, but everything looked different now. Cleaner, brighter, full of possibility instead of obligation. Sarah had wanted to destroy me, to leave me broken and alone. Instead, she'd freed me from a prison I hadn't even realized I was in. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim.